Hey YouTube, it's your girl Dr. J, and I thought I would do another follow-up video to the video that I posted on avoiding homeschool burnout, because I think there are a couple other really important factors that I didn't get to in that video that I think will be helpful for individuals when it comes to how to make sure or how to do everything you can to avoid homeschool burnout. Another thing that I want to make sure to mention is the concept of love not being enough. A lot of people will, pull their kids out of school or never send their kids to school, and they'll say, I'm doing it because I love my kids and I want the best for my kids. And while that, homeschooling does provide the best environment for most children, love is not enough to get you through the homeschooling experience. You can't just love your kids. You also have to like your kids. And what I mean by that is you really have to enjoy being in the company of your children for very, very long periods of time. This is particularly important for people who are going to be pulling their children out of a traditional school setting. If you're one where, traditionally it's been, once you get to the end of summer, you're ready for the kids to go back to school, the kids are ready to go back to school. If, Christmas break is one where, after the first 3 days, kids are like, okay, I got to go back to school. Then it's going to be a little bit harder for you to make that transition, and you want to make sure that you build in some time of being able to get to know your kids better and let them get to know you better, and to really work first and foremost before you hit academics. Work first and foremost on building and establishing and solidifying the relationship with your children till you guys can get to the point where you enjoy each other's presence. Because when you homeschool, most homeschool moms and dads will tell you that the process never ends. It never ends all day long. I don't care if you're a person who you say, we do schoolwork until 2 or noon or 9. Doesn't matter. That homeschool day, it never really truly ends. So you really, honestly, truly have to enjoy being with your children. You have to enjoy what they enjoy. I mean, one of the things that makes homeschooling a little bit easier for me is because I have learned how to get excited about my kids getting excited and having interest in their passions. I've talked to you guys before about my son and his passion of ferrets and black-footed ferrets. I'm not an animal person. Just no, I'm not. But that's my son's passion. And so I will work to make sure that I get excited about what he's excited about, because we're going to be studying this for a while. I'm not particularly a geography person, but I learned to find joy and some excitement around it because that's something that my kids were passionate about. If you can't do that, it's going to be really, really hard to really do homeschooling for the long haul. Because if you, at the end of every day, you feel overwhelmed, or especially if you feel underwhelmed with the things that have been going on, and you're just really disconnected, and it's not exciting for you, it's not fun for you, it's going to be really, really hard to keep the momentum going with homeschooling. So you got to like your kids. You got to like who they are as individuals. You have to like spending time with them. And you also have to learn how to, like to some extent the things that they enjoy and the things that they like. I know a lot of times you'll see the people with the most like homeschool videos, and the people who seem like they're, like they have it, together. They're the people who are like, oh my gosh, guess what we did? This was the result. This was so cool. And really, you really do have to start to get that passion around what your kids are doing and what your kids are learning, because that's your life. So you have to, embrace the moment, embrace the experience of it. Another thing that's really important, I think, for avoiding homeschool burnout is to not have in the forefront of your mind that this is only practice, or, we can always send them to school. That's not to say that sending your children to school is never an option. It is an option for everybody. People have different things on their list that would make them send their children to a traditional school environment. Some people it's, something drastic has to happen. For other people, things maybe not as drastic has to happen. But the big thing is that when you look at a traditional school environment, when you look at your local public school, they never have as an option shutting the place down and just sending all the kids home. That's never on their list. If they're not meeting standards, or if things aren't working out, if they're starting to have an attitude problem, behavior problems, anything, they sit there and they work to try to find out, how are we going to tackle this situation. We may not always agree with the routes that they take, but they do always look at every single thing that's happening and say, how are we going to deal with this situation? And the way that they deal with the situation is never to say, let's shut the whole place down. Now, they may send 1 or 2 or 3 kids away, but sometimes they even will send them to an alternative, public school. Whereas a lot of times when I'm talking to homeschoolers, they will say, well, we're just experimenting with this, or we're just seeing how this is going to work. And, well, if it doesn't work out, we can always just send them to school. If in your mind, you're always floating around with the option of, we can always just give up, that is going to lead to burnout a whole lot quicker. I mean, it's just like with marriage. If you go into the marriage and you say, well, if we don't like each other, we can always just get divorced, then that makes divorce kind of a quicker option to get to than people who said, okay, we're going to be in this for the long haul, and we're not divorcing unless we, he hits me or I hit him or something like that. That's really kind of the attitude that you have to have, where I'm not looking for an alternative. I'm not looking for out. So if this part of homeschooling isn't working, I have to come up with other plans, other alternatives, other solutions that can deal with this problem or this situation in a homeschool setting. But if your default, if your plan B, C, D, E, and F is just send them back to school or just send them to school, then that's going to make it really, really hard to commit to the long haul, and that's going to make you much more vulnerable to homeschool burnout. Again, I'm not saying that it's never going to be a best solution for somebody to send their child into a more traditional school setting. That may be the best solution for that family. But if that is plan B number 1, and if it's always, oh, we're just testing this out, and if things don't work, we'll just, send them, then that's going to make it, you're going to reach burnout a whole lot sooner. And when you come to the long haul, the other piece of that, I talked about being excited about what your children are excited about, but you also have to learn how to be excited about this life. A lot of people, most homeschoolers that I meet, they didn't plan on homeschooling. They weren't, 18 years old going, when I have kids, what I want to do is be a homeschool mom. I know when I was, getting my PhD, I was not getting my PhD thinking, you know what I'm going to do? Quit my job and homeschool my kids. It wasn't like that. That wasn't the life that I was expecting to have when I was in college. But this is the life that I have. And so I have to find ways to love this life. This is my life. And so I have done everything I can to make sure that I'm happy doing what I'm doing. There is not another option for my kids. This is our solution. This is our option, homeschooling. And so since this is what I'm doing for the long haul, I have got to love it. Because if I don't love it, then I'm going to be hurting, and I'm going to be vulnerable, and I'm going to not be satisfied. And it's not a healthy situation if the kids are getting what they need and you're not getting what you need. And so when you commit to homeschooling, you want to make sure that you do some soul searching and figure out, how do I find my identity in this? How do I find joy in this? How do I find excitement in this? What do I need to do so that I am satisfied at the end of the day? Because, the kids might be satisfied, but are you? The kids might be happy, but are you happy? Because nobody can be in a state of discontent for long periods of time. It's just not healthy. And if this is your life, if this is the life that you have said that you're going to lead, you have to find how you are going to get enjoyment and excitement from it. And it may be different for other people. I know for me, I love reading, I love research, I love, getting deep and digging in things. That's why I homeschool the way that I do. Yeah, I do it to meet the needs of my kids, but I also find joy in, digging deep. I also find joy in looking, through references and that sort of stuff. I enjoy, making, YouTube videos. I enjoy the process. I try to make sure that every day I get what I need because I have to be happy. Yes, kids have to be happy, but I got to be happy too. And a lot of times I see homeschoolers, especially new homeschoolers or people who have pulled their children out of school to homeschool them. They say, this is what my kids needed. What I am challenging you to do is to really look and to figure out that, it's not just your kids that this is a better life for. It's a better life for you too, because you wouldn't have did it if you were on cloud nine and the kids were kind of suffering. They were hurting and you were hurting, and that's why this is the best option. So just like you're trying to find everything that you need to find so that the homeschooling experience is good for them, you also have to make sure that you are finding what's needed to make the homeschooling experience good for you as well. Some people, they just, the life of, being a predominantly in the home parent, that's new for them. I know it was new for me. I, was working full time. I, even when my kids were young, I had a nanny. I wasn't, a homebody or anything like that. So this was a new life experience for me. Even though I work now, the majority of my jobs, I actually work from home. And so I had to learn to love being at home. I had to learn to love, this being my domain. I had to learn to, say, okay, I'm not getting external accolades anymore. I'm not getting, bonus checks and all that other sort of stuff. So where is my identity in this? And how do I learn to love this life right here? Because this is it. This is it. We don't really have, a plan B for us. Like, our children won't be homeschooled if I die, but beyond that, we just can't see a situation where, I'm not going to be homeschooling them. So I had to find peace, and not just peace, but joy and happiness in this role right here in this house. And I would say, for when I see homeschoolers who aren't at that place of peace, you can tell that it's wearing on them, and it's wearing on them, and it's wearing on them. And just like you're trying to find the right fit and the right curriculum for your kid, don't forget about you. You need the right fit for your home, for you as well. Homeschooling is a family affair, and the family's needs have to be met. And you are just an integral part of that process as the kids. So, hope this helps. This is Dr. J, and I'm out. Bye-bye.